Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? It's your boy Isaac,
And this is your boy Bryce.
and we are brothers on tennis. And folks, we have come through a week of solid tennis. Man, there were a lot of events going on. And of course, we had the oh so wonderful Laver Cup. Bryce, what did you think about all the tennis that happened this past week?
Well, it's so funny because with the Laver Cup, and it truly is one of the most exciting tennis weekends of the year. And it has been every year since it started. It kind of cast a shadow on the other events that were going on. I would be watching the tennis channel and they would talk about maybe like the San Diego tournament. And I would be like, oh, that's right. There is other tennis going on other than the Laver Cup. So, but yeah, I was highly focused on the Laver Cup. And of course, we got the announcement, shortly before the start of the Cup that, this was going to be Roger's last professional tournament.
Right. So shocking.
Right. And we just came off the heels of Serena and going through all those emotions with her at the US Open. And now we got to get our head right for Federer at the Laver Cup.
Right. It definitely made for an intriguing and emotional event. That is for sure.
It did. and something that I don't think we knew going into the Cup is I thought that Nadal was going to be a full participant the entire weekend. I didn't know that the situation had changed where he was basically just coming in to play that first day doubles with Federer. So I say all of that to say, me being the person that was calling Team World Team Speed Bumps this year, you take Nadal off of that team, and they already don't have Alcaraz, they already don't have Rublev, they already don't have Medvedev. It made it a much more even contest.
Right.
And we didn't know how Djokovic was going to look, after having not played. So even though I didn't say it out loud, in my mind, I started to think, shoot, could World have a chance really this year? The team that we had when we thought we were going in here with the big four.
Right. Here's what I will say, Bryce. I honestly still felt that Team Europe was going to dominate. I really did. I'm not even going to lie. Just because, again, like you said, it's the big four. They're in the same, room together. They're on the same team. That energy is there. And, even after, splitting the first day, I guess I still kind of had it in my head that it was going to take something truly, truly special for the world to do in order to win. And
I agree.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying, add to that, Team Europe still also had Casper Ruud, Tsitsipas, and Baratini.
Exactly.
Who aren't necessarily like just some run-of-the-mill tennis players.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. So I felt like they were stacked, if I'm being very honest with you. But I think a couple of key things happened. I think that, the fact that de Minaur was able to get that point from Andy Murray, that to me was big. That was big, because had they lost that point going into the doubles, I don't think they had the right energy. And well, I shouldn't say that, because I think that Jack and Francis just played outstanding. They took it to Roger and Nadal, and like we've talked about, and we will talk about here, there was a lot of nerves as well on the side of Fedal.
Yes, right. So Isaac, let's start going through those matchups. So
yes.
For day one, the first match we had was Casper Ruud and Jack Sock. And, initially looking at this, with Casper Ruud having made two major finals this year, being the number 2 player in the world. Jack Sock coming back from injury, and we haven't really seen the Jack Sock of the Paris Open winning days in a while. I think we probably thought this was going to be a little more straightforward than it was.
Yeah. I thought very much that Casper Ruud would take this in a dominant fashion, but kudos to Jack Sock for getting out there and putting in work, because he was like, no, sir, this is not going to be easy. And I am going to bring that game from years past that got me in the top 10. And I was impressed, Bryce. I was very impressed.
So, although J Sock took an L, I mean, shout out to him for really going out there and doing battle and basically coming within a few points of winning that first point.
Exactly. It was really, really strong tennis. And like I said, he had nothing to hang his head on. I mean, we're talking about Casper Ruud almost had the opportunity to be the number 1 player in the world after the U.S. Open. So for you to be able to take it to the distance and lose 10-7 in a super third set super tiebreaker, no, that's a great showing.
Right. So then, just to restore a little order, Stefano Tsitsipas was like, I have heard that they have great bakeries in London.
Great. Fantastic. Yummy.
And Diego, you're a fun guy. Why don't you come along and let's go tour some of these bakeries? Because I'm sorry, with the 2 and the 1, on Diego, that was pretty dominant.
That was unexpectedly dominant. I mean, we've seen Diego take some L's in the past, but that one, that had to hurt. To just be lift up and thrown down. I mean, that one was a rough one. But kudos to Stefanos, man. He got out there and he was like, "Look, I'm trying to get it done. I got these big 4 behind me, and I'm trying to show them, what I can do." And he definitely did that in that match. That's for sure.
So, Isaac, at this point, it's starting to feel like years passed, right?
Correct.
Europe has jumped out here. They're off to a 2-0 lead. But then we get to the match that you were talking about earlier, Andy Murray versus de Minaur.
Yes.
And what happened?
I honestly, Bryce, I think that's where the tide turned. Alex, the Demon is rough, man. He's got speed. He is a really, really talented young guy. And he plays a very, very similar style to an Andy Murray from a defensive standpoint. He can run down pretty much everything. And again, with Andy, again, he's, not the Andy of old. So again, he's still kind of playing that defensive game. But when you're playing someone that has the speed like de Minaur has, it's you've got to bring something else. And he did what he needed to do that first set. But to me, I was like, if you don't take this in straight sets, it's going to be tight on you. And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, that was a huge win for Team World with Alex. So shout out to him for battling. And I know Andy couldn't have felt great, about that final result.
I mean, in your backyard, and you got the big 3 watching you, and you can't pull out that victory. That had to hurt.
Right. And then we get to the match that everybody was waiting on, and that is the doubles match that had Federer and Nadal against Jack Sock and Tiafoe. And I tell you what, Isaac, when I saw the lineup the night before, I was immediately concerned for Federer and Nadal, just because I fear for any team that goes against Jack Sock and whoever.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And we know Tiafoe's been showing out recently, and we know that he no longer lays those bricks at the net. He's got really nice touch and hands, and I was like, whoo. This is going to be a challenge.
Right.
And what was your assessment of that match?
Bryce, so with that being said, though, I honestly expected for Fadal to win. I
Mm-hmm.
really did. With all of that being said, with the fact that Roger hadn't played for 14 months, I still expected them to win. Why? Because Nadal and
Nadal.
Federer both have ridiculous hands. They
Mm-hmm.
have incredible, just they both have, they both have gold medals. Let's also put that out there.
Right.
So I just, even with Jack and all of his talent, I felt like they still were going in as the underdog. And you and I have talked about this matchup in great length. And I think honestly, what ended up happening there was it was something we've never seen before.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it simply was the weight that was placed on Nadal's shoulders to try and get that victory for Fed was just too much.
Yeah.
It was too much.
Right. I mean, Nadal has the reputation of, if you want someone in a critical moment in a match,
Right.
you want Nadal in there.
Yep.
And in the sport of tennis where these guys, or especially the top guys, where they're used to being very individualistic, it's just about them. Their wins and their losses only affect them and their camp. Right. And then you have this relationship between Nadal and Federer, which is insane. I mean, we've seen rivals be very close friends after their playing days, like Chris and Martina and all of that.
Right.
But I can't remember the last time we saw true rivals, like number one and number two rivals, and I take Venus and Serena out of it because they're sisters, where they were openly so friendly and loving with each other. And I think it's exactly what you said. I think for Nadal, if it was just about him, he's regular Nadal, but I think he wanted that victory so much for his friend. And he's the one, like you said, Federer hasn't played in 14 months. Nadal's been out here winning half the majors, in 2022. I'm sure he had to feel like the weight was absolutely on him to carry Roger through this win. And we saw times in that match where Nadal looked uncertain about what to do. We saw him double fault in critical moments. We saw him get just passed left and right. Him making, kind of the wrong decision to go. Those are not typical Nadal things. Now, I do want to be very clear. We're in no way blaming Nadal for this loss.
No, not at all.
It's just that this was the first time that we had really seen something mean so much to him that was so much bigger than his individual game that it actually, I think, affected his play.
Right. Exactly. And we also don't want to take anything away from Jack Sock and Francis Tiafoe. They played an outstanding doubles match. But honestly, like I said, if you had a Nadal and a Federer playing at the top of their game, they would have won that match. I'm just convinced of that. But again, Nadal he made just mistakes that you just don't. You never see Nadal with heavy hands. I mean, he's just got some of the best feel in the game. So when you're seeing all of that and you're seeing the double faults, that is what pressure is called, folks. And unfortunately, he succumbed to it. And we say that. It was still 11-9 in the third set, super tiebreaker.
Exactly.
They still had a match point. Exactly.
They had a match point. Yes.
Exactly. So it's not, again, like they didn't have the chance to do it. It's just, again, you just unfortunately saw that pressure show up in not so great moments for Fadal. And let us also say this. Roger Federer played some good tennis for his last match, not having played for 14 months.
Did he?
Come on now. Come on now. He was spot serving. I mean, what is that serve? Come on now.
Yes.
Don't let me get on my soapbox here, folks. That serve was looking mighty. He was like, I may have an issue with this knee, but it sure ain't affecting my serve.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I mean, outside of them not winning, the quality, I think the match was the quality of the type of match they wanted to have for his last match.
Correct. And I think they even said as much, Bryce, because they were just like, it doesn't even matter the win or the loss. It's about just making, appreciating Roger for everything that he's brought to the game. And again, they had a ridiculously competitive match. It was incredible.
What I thought was funny was the press asked Tiafoe later, did he feel like he owed Roger an apology, for kind of beating him in his last match? And Tiafoe was like, Roger owes us an apology for beating all of us for like 20 years. So, no. He said, I love and respect him, but no.
No, exactly. The answer is no.
Oh, my goodness. And so let's talk about, after that match, the send-off that he got. And once again, let's take it back to Rafa.
Yeah.
When is the last time you saw Rafa cry on court, even when he won some of his biggest championships?
Biggest championships. You just don't see it. So the fact that he had tears in his eyes, come on now. This meant a lot to him. It really did. And as it should. I mean, again, we know, not taking anything away from Novak, but Roger is the original, rival.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He is the original. He is the OG. That is the rivalry.
Right.
And so, it meant a lot to him. And the fact that, again, Roger was walking away from the game. It definitely, he had the feels.
And I tell you what, even though Rafa and Djokovic, from a rival standpoint, played each other more times, when you talk about the interest from the tennis community and the fans,
right,
probably 8 times out of 10, folks would pick to see Roger versus Nadal versus Nadal versus Djokovic.
Right.
And so it just, that rivalry was just really on a different level.
That's right.
But, Roger, like we've been saying, Isaac, for years, regardless of the number of titles and which records he will continue to hold and which ones he won't, what he will always be is the people's champ.
That's right. The
way that he is universally beloved across the globe. I forgot who said it, whether it was Andrew Krasny or whoever, that said, he is the hometown favorite in whatever town he goes to.
Exactly.
And he, his legacy is cemented, and it's really good that we know that. Now, here was the interesting thing. We heard Borg say at the end there that he had one more year.
Right.
So it makes me wonder if 2 years from now, we don't see Roger come in.
Yeah. I think it's possible.
Of the Europe team.
Right.
I also like the fact that Roger announced he's going to be doing this exhibition tour.
Right.
Against, I like how he said, players of his choosing. Because I do think it's important for him to give a lot of people that kind of last opportunity to see him play. I mean, he can't everybody afford them Laver Cup tickets. So I just think that's going to be a tremendous tour for people to have a chance to say goodbye to him as well.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
So moving on, we are 2-2 at the end of day one, right?
Yes. Shocked.
All right. So, but still, we're thinking, okay, that's cool. Yeah. So, first match of day 2, we have Baratini versus FAA, and we know there's all kinds of underlying storylines there.
Right.
But what did you see out of that match?
Well, I think it's kind of what I had mentioned to you before. It's both of them have such great potential, but at the same time, you just wish that they were a little bit better as it relates to closing it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
That first set tiebreaker, it just seemed like it was a handoff. Hey, you take it. No, 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 I don't want it. You take it. Oh, no, 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 no. You
Right.
by all means. And I just feel like that's an area where both of them can do a little bit of improving, if you will. But it was still a very, very good match. Of course, went to the third set super tiebreaker, and Baratini, ended up pulling it out. But again, I just see them having a really good rivalry throughout their career. I really
Right.
do. I think that they just like each other's game. I think it doesn't really matter what surface. I really believe that they just will have really strong battles. I don't know that I'll ever be able to look at that matchup and say, "Oh, this one's definitely got it." No.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think still at this point, we're like, okay, here comes Europe
Yep.
back.
Yep.
They're in the lead. They're about to run through some of these matches. But the very next match was the first surprise to me because this is where
Right.
I had not heard that Nadal had basically come in just to play the doubles match. I was expecting for Nadal to play singles
Right.
this day
Right.
and actually
Right.
to take vengeance on from the night before. And
Right.
so we heard that Cam Norrie was in there, but even with that, Cam Norrie versus Taylor Fritz. I mean, we saw this at Indian Wells.
Hmm. Yes.
uh what were your thoughts about how this one turned out?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was. I tell you, it was good on Taylor for holding his nerve, because he got out to that fast start. Went to the bread store and gave Cam Norrie a little breadstick, but Cam battled back and really fought hard. Took that second set, and I thought he had the momentum at that point, if I'm being honest with you. So that's why, for me, kudos to Taylor for being able to really get through that third set super tiebreaker and pull it out, because at that point I honestly thought that Cam was going to take the match.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you with all that. So okay, so we're tied once again,
Hmm.
but we know
Hmm.
Djokovic is coming up.
Yes.
And although Tiafo has kind of been on one lately, uh, it's Djokovic.
It is Djokovic. Yes. Yes.
and very much like Tsitsipas the day before, you know,
Hmm.
although Djokovic ain't been around lately, he wanted everyone to know that ain't nothing changed but his limp. So that was a pretty comprehensive 1-3
Yeah.
victory over Tiafo.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he just came out the gates wanting to just send a message that, I am Novak. Yeah, yeah, this weekend was about Roger. Yeah, yeah, Nadal has the most singles, but he going home now. Yeah, I'm here to hold it down for the team. So I'm about to put it out there and show you the entire depth of my game. And he did that against Tiafoe. It was an incredible match that he played. It really was.
It was, and people were pleasantly surprised to see that although Djokovic did not play the hard court series this
Hmm.
summer, inclusive of the U.S. Open, um, he clearly hasn't lost anything.
Exactly. Exactly.
So then we go to the doubles, and
Yes.
honestly, this was a surprise for me.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that Jack and Alex would beat Berrettini and Djokovic in doubles.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I can't disagree with you on that either. I actually went going into that match. I thought that World had the edge.
mm-hmm. And Berrettini and Djokovic, I mean, they looked really good
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
match. And so now where I'm thinking we're gonna end the day tied up once again,
Hmm.
Team World is now actually up by 4 points.
Right.
And it's really starting to feel like, okay, this is what we're used to.
Exactly.
You know, Team Europe is going to, do whatever.
Right.
But we get to day 3, Isaac.
Hmm.
And I don't know if Johnny Mack had one of his episodes
Mm.
on the team before they
Mm.
went out and played, but let's just go through day 3.
I know what
So,
happened.
so the first match, okay, I give Team World, all right? Jack Sock and FAA against Baratini and Murray.
Right.
Like I said, whenever Jack's on the court in a doubles match, I'm leaning his direction for the victory.
Right.
But it still was a close one, right?
Yes. It was very, very close. Baratini and Murray came out the block swinging. They dished him up a whole biscuit and said, "Here you go." And again, it was trending to, oh, here's Europe doing Europe things as they typically do. But talk about rebounding. And this is where I'm going to actually give Francis a bit of kudos, because he was the one that was getting kind of jumped on in that first set. And he rebounded.
FAA.
I'm sorry. Who did I say?
Francis.
Oh, I'm so sorry. See, I'm getting the brothers confused. So FAA.
Yeah, don't set that example.
Yeah, exactly. No, we don't want to do that. So excuse me, y'all. Yes. So when FAA rebounded in that second set, it was just, in my opinion, really that to me was very impressive. The fact that, he saw that he was the one kind of getting picked on, and he just stepped his game up, and he really, really started complimenting the things that Jack was doing. And they ended up taking that second set, and that was huge.
Right. I agree with you. I think 2 things changed from that first set. Number one, exactly what you said about Felix, because he was missing easy volleys and they were going at him. And so he really tightened up his game, and that was important. But also on Jack's side, Jack was not serving well.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's true. And he got his serve together. And between those 2 things, they really flipped the script on Baratini and Murray.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was impressive. Because again, I was leaning towards Jack and Felix just because it's Jack, but you just never knew. That one to me was kind of a bit of a toss up, but they pulled it out. It was impressive.
Right. And so we knew that Team World needed to win 3 of these matches. Right. And so there's the first one. But as tennis fans and tennis analysts, your next match coming up being Djokovic versus FAA, we're thinking, okay, now here's one of the ones that Team World's going to lose.
Right.
Especially based upon how Djokovic looked the day before.
Correct.
So, Isaac, explain to us what happened in this match.
So here's what I'm going to say, and I'm actually going to back it up a little bit, because if you think about what happened on day 1, and I'm going to talk about Jack Sock. Jack Sock plays a singles match. He didn't win, but he played an outstanding singles match. And what happens? He plays an outstanding doubles match against Federer, and they take the win. Yes. Fast forward to day 2. You've got a Baratini who played singles against Felix, won his match, and then fast forward to the end of the day, and Djokovic put them things on Tiafoe. They both team up, and then they actually upset Jack and De Minaur.
Yep.
So then you come to day 3. Felix gets out there, plays doubles with Jack, gets the win. He's feeling good. He's got all of the blood going through his system already, so he don't need to be warmed up. He gets out there and he's like, you know what? Novak, everybody's scared of you. And I tell you what, Bryce, Felix Auger-Aliassime played the best match that I have seen from him. I mean, he got up on Novak and was like, ain't nobody scared of you. You might have done that to Tiafoe, but you ain't going to do that to me today.
No.
Bryce, I was so impressed. I mean, because everybody, and I do mean everybody, had given those 3 points to Europe. Everybody.
Yes. And now the one thing I want to add to this, and once again, not taking anything away from FAA. Yeah. I was not aware, or I must have missed it in the doubles match the day before when apparently Djokovic fell.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so, and apparently he kind of hurt his wrist a little bit.
That's right.
There.
He was stretching it out during the match. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so there were some thoughts that may have impacted him on his serve and his forehand, especially when you look at some of his service speeds, and how he was hitting his forehand. But nonetheless, injuries are part of the game.
That's right.
So, we've seen, look, he won an Australian Open with apparently no gut.
Exactly.
I mean, he didn't need ab muscles or anything. So, we
Mm-hmm.
know he can do it. But
Right.
Felix did not allow the moment to get too large for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I 100% agree with you. I think the momentum that was gained from him winning that doubles match first carried right on over to that singles match.
Exactly. I mean, it just such a big win for World, and I mean, it wasn't just big, it was huge. It was incredible, unexpected,
Yes.
unexpected.
So now Team World has unexpectedly won 2 of the 3 matches they need to win.
Mm-hmm.
And my goodness, Tsitsipas Tiafoe is your next matchup. and honestly, this is where it became very interesting for me, because Tsitsipas, you have Tsitsipas on one hand, who is this insanely talented player,
yes,
but has also shown himself to crack in key moments of big matches.
Yes.
French Open Djokovic. And you have Tiafoe, who has kind of become known to be a big match player now.
Right. That's right.
Please talk to us about this match, Isaac.
Friend, let me tell you. So going into this match, I was like, okay, this to me bodes extremely well for Francis because of the fact of what you just said. He's big time. He likes big occasions. He likes big matches. He loves all of that. He lives for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this might be tight because this is a must win for Europe. And we know, and I don't mean to be mean, but we know how some of the Greek players are as it relates to their mental.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, Francis definitely has a shot here. Now, the match begins. And Tsitsipas was like, you know what? You look like Diego from the day before. And he said, we're going to go around to the bakery shops. And I'm going to get you some pastry.
Yeah.
And when he put that 6-1 on him, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting. But then at the same time, Francis was like, okay, you've been putting some things on me, but I learned something. From that first set. And what I'm going to now do is I'm going to lock in on that backhand.
Yep.
And if you, Bryce, you had to have seen this because this was pretty much how I feel like every point went for the rest of the match.
Right.
Tiafoe got that shovel backhand of his to Tsitsipas's backhand, and he just stayed there. And he was like, "I'm gonna work this backhand out." Yes. And Tsitsipas would try and run around it from time to time, but Francis has enough speed to be able to get to that forehand cross court.
Yes.
And he was getting to it and putting it back in play. It was giving Tsitsipas a lot of frustration, but he was working it. And it to me, that second set was just back and forth, battling. And again, what it showed, like you just said, it showed the match toughness that Tiafoe has developed, and it showed a little bit of the fragility on Tsitsipas' side. Because there were key moments where he could have stretched the lead, and he didn't do it.
And I'm gonna tell you another thing that was a bit surprising to me. Europe was the home team.
Yes.
And I think it unnerved Tsitsipas that Francis was able at times to
Yes.
get a significant portion of that crowd behind him.
Yes. Yes. Bryce, he even said it. He said, "My goal is to make this a circus." Who have we heard that from before?
Nick Kyrgios.
And who has a great record against Tsitsipas?
Nick Kyrgios.
And why does he have a good record? Because he makes it a circus. He likes all of that energy. He loves the attention from the crowd. Francis is very much of the same, that same nature. He wants the crowd to be a part of it. And he did, in my opinion, a fantastic job of bringing the crowd into that match. He didn't give them a choice. He literally was like hitting shots, and then he was looking at them like, y'all saw that, right?
Right.
You saw what I just did there, right? Just some of them gets, Bryce, were just that one where Tsitsipas hit that drop shot and he ran to the net and flicked it to the open. I said, friend, I'm done with you right now. I can't do nothing. He did a great job of managing that match and doing enough to get under Tsitsipas's skin.
He did. And to win that second set tiebreaker 13-11, and then that third set match tiebreak at 10-8.
Yes.
I mean, look, I'm not trying to get overly hyped here, but I really want to see what Francis does in 2023.
I do as well.
Because at this point, I expect for a deep run from him in each one of the majors.
He's already started with the U.S. Open. I mean, he had that nice run, got up there with Alcaraz, and I'm like you. I expect to see more of that.
Oh, and remember, Tiafoe was a replacement on the team. He replaced John Isner.
That's right.
So the person that ended up replacing someone ended up being the clincher for them winning this title. And also, and not only just the clincher, I mean, winning that doubles match with Jack.
Exactly.
And I'm going to just throw this out there. I personally felt so good that the brothers had a portion of each one of these matches on day 3.
Yes, I agree with you.
From Team World. And because they had won the cup after that third match, that final singles match between Casper Ruud and Taylor Fritz didn't even happen.
Correct.
Which that was going to be very interesting if it had come down to that.
Right. Exactly. I mean, those were great matches on the fourth day. I mean, those, again, outside of the Djokovic-Felix match, the other 3 could literally have gone anyway, in my opinion, going into the day. But boy, oh boy, you talk about the world stepping up. They stepped up because I just did not have them winning all the first 3 matches. I just didn't. I didn't.
No, not at all. And I tell you what, this is actually really good for the Laver Cup because I think if Team Europe had continued to win, would people still tune in to the Laver Cup? Absolutely, because it's all your top stars playing against each other. It's Roger's event. I mean, it's enough to pull people to watch. But would they be as invested because they're like, well, we know how it's going to end.
Right, exactly.
We know Europe's going to win. And so I think it was actually very good for the Cup for Team World to finally get a victory.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, bro. It was good for everyone involved that World finally got them a cup. So, yeah, man. I mean, and you can't say that it always won't be an uphill battle.
Right.
Because again, you've got the number one player a number one player and a former number one player who were not even on the squad in Carlos Alcaraz and Medvedev. So they will always have an uphill battle as it relates to Team World. But at the same time, they definitely put in work and they're giving themselves chances,
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, I believe next year you will definitely see Alcaraz there. You will definitely see Medvedev back. You'll probably see Rublev back. You probably will see Sinner.
Right.
Uh, and it's going to be great. And so they did announce that next year it is in Vancouver.
That's right, Vancouver, Canada. That's right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that will be very interesting. I will assume that Shapovalov will, if he don't make the squad, he'll be at least an alternate
Right. Right.
there for the home country. So
Yeah. Hopefully he'll
once it,
get himself together and actually
yeah,
make the team versus it being another scenario. But we'll see what happens.
right. So once again, Laver Cup absolutely did not disappoint, and for me, easily one of my favorite events all year.
Agree, brother. Absolutely agree.
So, like we said at the beginning, although we may have forgotten at certain points of the weekend, there was other tennis
And there was other tennis. Yeah, there was.
that occurred, and I just want to start off right here. About an hour south of us, Isaac, in the San Diego Open, we had the battle of two Americans who were
Yes.
both competing for their first title, in
Yes.
Nakashima and Giron. And Nakashima with the 4-4 win, being a San Diego native. How huge was that?
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, it was great to see two Americans in the final, in Giron and Nakashima, like both of those guys. And again, the fact that you had the whole, it's one of their, one of them will be a titleist after the tournament is over was really cool, and just happy for Nakashima. And Giron is knocking on the door. I see a title coming for him, within a year. I think that he is playing some outstanding tennis, and definitely want to see him raising a trophy at some point. But kudos to Nakashima.
Yes, absolutely. And then we had in the Mets tournament, the Moselle Open, we had Sonego
Hmm?
against Bublik.
Yeah.
And Bublik has been a surprise this year. He has gone deep in quite a few tournaments, um, but I think he had a little too much showmanship in his play in the finals. And Sonego was like, "Look, I'm here to win. You trying to hit this ball with the handle of your racket and all that? No, ain't time out for all that."
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing with Bublik is he's just a little bit too creative for his own good. He's a very talented player, has a lot
Yes.
of lot of skill. But unfortunately, I think the mental side is something that definitely needs to be worked on. So disappointing that he got in the final and basically took a whole biscuit.
Right, exactly. Now, we also had a couple of women's tournaments last week.
Yes, we
We
did.
had the Pan Pacific Open in Tokyo, and this was the tournament I really was interested in seeing how well Osaka was going to
Hmm.
do.
Yes.
But she had to withdraw early due to illness. I don't know if I ever heard what the illness was,
Yeah.
um, but so she withdrew. But we had Samsonova win
Yes.
over Zhang,
Yeah.
7-5,
Yeah.
7-5.
And Zhang is playing some good tennis. Watch out for her, you guys. She's a young, I believe, a young. I think she's a teenager still. I mean, she might be 19, maybe 20, but
Hmm.
she is a really, really good player. And she didn't, couldn't get it done against Samsonova. But yeah, watch out for her. She's a very good player. And kudos to Samsonova, I think is how you pronounce it, for
Hmm.
just winning another tournament. I mean, she is just very, she goes to work, she puts in the time, and she and she gets it done. So that was really a good win on her part. Of 500, that's impressive.
Yes. And then we had a 250, the Korea Open in
Yes.
Seoul, where we had Alexandrova uh, driving Ostapenko 7-6 and a bakery run with a bagel.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Apparently, she just kind of lost that focus after that first set tiebreaker, and Alexandrova just said, "Hey, beep beep, come on, get in. I got a bagel shop for you," and served it up. So kudos to her for getting a title, another title under her belt.
And I'm gonna tell you what, Ostapenko gonna need to talk to her apparel company. Because either they are truly trying to clown her and she doesn't get it, or come on now.
She tried to be different. I'm just going to assume that that is the case. Is that they're just trying to make her a little bit different. So you know.
Okay.
So with that,
Yes. Moving on to this week, we
yes,
have, what is it? It's like 250 tournaments on the men's side, and we
correct.
have 250 tournaments on the women's side.
That is correct.
Um, so not exactly sure who's all, and is it anybody of note?
Yeah, they've
And
got some folks. I mean, Casper is the top seed of one. Sinner is the top seed of one. You've got Sloan playing in one of the ladies tournaments, and so they're kind of sprinkled around there. I think that it won't be outstanding tennis, but it will be good tennis. So definitely there are a lot of tournaments out there, folks. So try and catch a match or two here and there if you can. But yeah, as far as this week goes, nothing too outstanding is going on from a tournament perspective.
right. Now, coming off the heels of the Laver Cup,
Yeah.
Isaac, we want to mention that we're trying to support this American version of the Laver
Yes,
Cup.
that's right.
And if you haven't heard of it, it's called the All American Cup. It's going to occur every November, and it's going to go between Austin and San Antonio, Texas. This year, it's going to be in San Antonio. And you're going to have two teams. You're going to have a team East, a team West. Team East is going to be captained by Bob Bryan. Team West is going to be captained by Mike Bryan. And they are going to divide up the top American players on their team. And they're going to play a format that is very, very similar to the Laver Cup. So Isaac and I are going to get involved in the competition. And so my team is Team East with Bob Bryan, and you're going to see some promotional stuff coming out for me about Team East.
Yep, and ditto. I am Team West with Mike Bryan, and you'll be seeing some stuff from me as well. So we're gonna make this a fun little back and forth competition, if you will. So stay tuned, everyone. It actually should be really, really fun.
Yes, indeed. Um, Isaac, is there anything else that we want to cover for this week? Am I missing something?
No, no, brother. We had a lot going on. So I think we hit all the tournaments. Definitely wanted to focus on Laver Cup, saying our goodbyes to Roger. And yeah, man, it has definitely been a good, solid week of tennis.
Yes. And I want to direct people to our Instagram page. And I'm actually going to post this on our website and our YouTube channel, hopefully tonight. We were honored this past weekend to be involved in a high performance training session in Los Angeles for the Pete Brown Jr. tennis program that was put together by the Riviera Foundation. And the training session actually happened at the home and private court of a singer you may have heard of before. His name is Seal. And so Isaac, had a wonderful interview with Seal. And so we're placing that on social media and on our sites for you to check out. Isaac, what was that like talking to Seal?
Oh, it was awesome, man. He is very passionate about the sport of tennis. He appreciated the fact that we had the high performance kids up, on playing on his courts, and he was just so hospitable. Just opened his home and was just so warm. He greeted everybody with hugs. I mean, Seal is a quality guy. It was just a really, really fantastic day.
It really was. So shout out to Seal for supporting the community, for supporting the youth, and just being a big fan and supporter of the game of tennis. When you watch the interview, that comes through very clearly how much Seal absolutely loves the sport of tennis. So that
Right.
was wonderful. So, well, Isaac, if you don't have anything else, I think we'll get ready to prepare for going on IG Live
Sounds
for the
good.
night. So, everyone, thank you for listening and for following us all year long. We still have some more stuff for you guys for the remainder of this year. But on behalf of the podcast, this has been your boy Bryce.
And this is your boy Isaac.
And we are Brothers on Tennis. Everyone, stay safe out there.